Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, has decided to join Jake Tapper on CNN. And Jake Tapper is holding her feet to the fire. And he actually shows her some footage from January 6th and asks her why the double standard when it comes to law enforcement. Let's take a look.
I want to ask a question about the rules of how law enforcement is allowed to engage when feeling threatened, per your assertions. Because I want to show some video to you right now and ask, what is the appropriate response for the police officers in this situation? Those are law enforcement officers being physically attacked. By this standard, would any of those officers be justified in shooting and killing the people causing them physical harm?
Every single situation is going to rely on the situation those officers are on. That they know that when people are putting hands on them, when they are using weapons against them, when they are physically harming them, that they have the authority to arrest those individuals.
The president pardoned every single one of those people.
And make sure that they're getting justice for their actions going forward.
President Trump pardoned every single one of those people.
And every single one of these investigations comes in the full context of the situation on the ground. And that's one thing that President Trump has been so focused on, is making sure that when we're out there, we don't pick and choose which situations are and which laws are enforced and which ones aren't. Every single one of them is being enforced under the Trump administration, and the clarity of the law stands. And if people don't like it, these members of Congress and elected officials should go change the law and make sure they have that debate and policy change.
I just showed you video of people attacking law enforcement officers. Undisputed proof, undisputed evidence. And I just said President Trump pardoned all of them. And you said that President Trump is enforcing all the laws equally. It's just not true. There's a different standard for law enforcement officials being attacked if they're being attacked by Trump supporters. We just saw that.
This individual and these instances and these investigations all have to be taken and done correctly in context of every situation that is happening on the ground. So what we are doing today as the Department of Homeland Security is out there with our law enforcement officers, making sure that we're targeting the worst of the worst and that we're talking factually about each situation and making sure that we're bringing those perpetuators of violence back to justice, bringing them to justice and making sure they face consequences for their crimes. We'd love to have the partnership of Mayor Fry. We'd love to have the partnership of the Chief of Police and of Governor Walz every day when we're out there to make sure they tone down the rhetoric and they do the right thing for the people of Minnesota.
All right, well, we'll ask Mayor Fry and the Chief of Police in just a couple moments. Thank you so much.
Great.
Mike, it seems like her go-to line here is, every case is different. We got to treat these as individual cases and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, wow, when 1,500 people get pardoned, it doesn't seem like a case-by-case basis to me. And the other thing she mentioned is they're going after the worst of the worst. A suburban mom that had children and a wife and a widowed lady got killed in the street of her own neighborhood. Is that the worst of the worst? What's going on here, Mike?
Yeah, that's something that stood out to me too, Emmanuel. I know that these are not the worst of the worst when it comes to Renee Good and many other immigrants that have been captured by ICE recently. A lot of them are people that are just working. There's people doing Uber. There's people doing roofing. These are just ordinary people, not the worst of the worst. And that contrast, I think, became very clear to me when DHS began their operation down in Louisiana recently, where they even made a website to show, hey, we're going after the worst of the worst. They use names, they use faces, they listed charges. And I thought, wow, this is great. We're actually getting some transparency. They're actually telling us who they're going after, why they're going after them. And they even noted that these are people that were arrested and then released. So these are people that should be in jail, should be deported, but they were released. And I thought to myself, wow, this is awesome. Granted, it was only like 8 people, but hey, they've got their list. They're going after them. Good luck. But the problem is A, they're using that list to go after everybody, not just the people on the list, but anybody down there. The list just gets them down there. And then B, some of the people on that list were already deported, as mentioned by DHS. So them being on the list feels a little irrelevant. And then there was one guy on there who was a minor who stole alcohol from like a liquor store. That to me doesn't seem like the worst of the worst. So there's definitely a lot of narrative building that's been going on with DHS for a while, and that's one of their favorite talking points. She said that officers in general, case by case or whatever, they have the authority to arrest those individuals, make sure that they're facing consequences. But what happened with Renee Good was not an arrest. Nobody tried to arrest her. I mean, technically, you could argue the guy who was pulling on the door was likely going to try to arrest her. But the point is, Jonathan Ross did not try to arrest her. He just shot her. That's that. So shooting somebody and arresting somebody are two completely separate things. Second, the January 6th people, you could say, okay, they were arrested, but then by being pardoned, they were excused of their consequences, or at least their consequences were shortened, or it wasn't as bad as it could have been, whatever. They were given like a large amount of mercy here, and those consequences are expunged from their records. That's the whole point of the pardon, is they are technically no longer criminals on those crimes. So to say that, oh, well, arresting, officers have the right to arrest people and the authority to arrest people and really bring justice and have consequences for these criminals. It doesn't play when you pardon one side and you don't, and then you shoot the other side. Like there's a complete disconnect. And then to go even further, she was saying, well, we don't pick and choose which laws are enforced and which ones aren't. But again, when you pardon one group and not others, that's definitely selective. And that's not even taking into account all of the times this Trump administration in the second term has been blatantly ignoring orders from judges. You've got the deportation flights to CCOT that were ignored. You have the Epstein files with Pam Bondi where she's ignoring those kinds of things. So there's multiple cases of just flagrant disregard. I mean, Trump's even trying to overturn the birthright citizenship through an executive order instead of an amendment to the Constitution. So we have many, many things where this administration makes it clear they don't really care about the law, and they don't care about which ones are enforced as long as it helps them. And they're willing to break the law when it helps them as well. Even this prosecutor that Trump put in, who is his own personal lawyer to go against Letitia James, that was an illegal posting. That's the main reason that case flopped. Not only was it improperly filed, but the attorney was appointed illegally. So it just shows they're willing to do crimes themselves. I mean, Trump has 34 felonies. We shouldn't be surprised when we have a criminal in the White House that we're going to see a criminal organization behind him. But I don't know what to tell you. Like, she's saying that we're enforcing all of our laws equally, but they are definitely not.